we conduct a comprehensive case study of a major Australian water resource and review the lessons learned, critically assess water as a power source, and investigate water solutions to address water scarcity in arid areas. Life may have begun inside warm, gentle springs on the ocean floor which bubbled billions of years ago, but we know that fresh water is vital to our continued existence. So what happens when it starts to run out? Could seawater be the answer to all our freshwater challenges, and at what cost? Of all the water on Earth, only 1% is available for consumption. By 2030, the annual requirements of water globally will exceed the current sustainable water supplies by 40%. 663 million people are currently without clean and safe water. In June 2015, NASA announced the global water table is dropping. The water in underground aquifers are very old and take between 500 and 1,300 years to replenish. 21 out of the 37 largest aquifers have already passed their sustainability tipping point. A major existing problem for Australia is the Murray River Basin, or MDB. It crosses over 4 states. It supports and provides water resources for many townships with approximately 2 million people. Indigenous populations lived and sustained the rivers for centuries. The MDB landscape was changed to the point where sustainability was lost. The Macquarie marshes were lost due to over-extraction of water, and eutrophication occurred due to the pollution of rivers from nitrates and phosphates during farming. During drought seasons, 90% of South Australia's water needs are met by the Murray River. The lack of flow and salination caused the river to stop flowing to the sea. Our call to action must address water security to sustain our livelihood, well-being and socio-economic development, and to preserve ecosystems for current and future generations. Australia is a water-stressed nation, so we've built dams to capture and store water, installed water systems to recycle wastewater and collect rainwater, and we've built desalination plants to supply our largest cities. Generating power is a small cog in the water wheel, but a huge interconnected problem facing humanity, and therefore on the water sustainability feed-forward loop. Hydroelectricity requires the most water and a mountainous terrain to create water freefall to drive turbines that generate power. Steam heated by nuclear reactions, coal burned, or solar panels generate electricity. Queensland's Kogan Creek coal-powered station reduces water consumption, dry cooling technology that requires 42% less coal than conventional coal stations. A double dividend. It produces 750 megawatts for Queensland and New South Wales. But the curse of coal power stations is CO2, a political hot potato. The government invested $35 million at Kogan Creek to half-complete construction of solar booster panels, but due to commercial reasons, it's been scrapped. There is confusion around clean coal, but it's definitely not clean. A new, very expensive, high-efficiency, supercritical coal plant with black clean coal produces 0.7 tonnes of CO2 per megawatt hour of electricity, compared to 0.85 using brown coal and the old technology, so it's not a huge improvement. Gas produces between 0.4 and 0.6 tonnes, which is much less than suggested new coal plants. Gas has the added benefit of being able to respond flexibly to demand, but it's not renewable. Renewables, of course, like wind, waves and solar, produce zero CO2. If we don't care about climate and just consider the expense, the average lifetime cost of producing power with an ultra-supercritical plant in Australia is estimated at about $80 per megawatt hour of electricity, but more like $100 with carbon restrictions, and $160 if it's not fully utilised. Wind farms get an average of $75 per megawatt hour, and solar parks at $110 per megawatt hour, but both are expected to come down with new technology to about $50 in 2025. Prime Minister Turnbull referred to Australia as a coal exporter. However, 70% of the world's power investment goes into renewables. For double dividends with power and fresh water, Ocean Thermal Energy Conservation, or OTEC, uses the ocean's warm surface water and refrigerant to produce vapour to turn a turbine and generate electricity. Then the ocean's cool, deep seawater is used to convert the vapour back into desalinated water. Systemically, OTEC pumps cool, deep water to the surface where it can have other uses such as air conditioning, or the cool water can be used for chilled soil agriculture, where food crops can be grown in warmer areas because The soil is chilled by passing the cool seawater in underground pipes. OTEC technology is not new and has been barred by setup costs, maintenance, and can only be constructed where the temperature variance from top to bottom is at least 20 degrees. Brand new research from Manchester University proved that graphene oxide membranes filter out small nanoparticles, organic molecules, and even large salts. Just this month, they've found a strategy to avoid the swelling of the membrane when exposed to water, so the pore size in the membrane can be precisely controlled to filter out salts. Set up in unproductive country in South Australia is a world first. Sundrop Farms is a commercial venture taking a systematic approach to sustainable agriculture with inputs of just seawater and sunshine, producing thousands of tons of tomatoes for a major retailer. It uses no oil or soil, plus takes carbon dioxide to promote healthy plant life. Ordinary bathroom mirrors produce steam to create electricity, and thermal power is stored on site. Only 10 to 15% of power comes from the grid. Salt water is used for cooling the greenhouses and then desalinated water for nourishing the plants. The plant provides work for several hundred people with security from a 10-year contract with Coles. Because it's a closed-loop system and not at risk of the elements,
Sundrop Farms is able to create independence from fossil fuels by utilising solar power, desalinated seawater.
Compared to a traditional greenhouse, Sundrop Farms is saving about 16,000 tons equivalent of CO2, which equates to about 3,100 cars a year off the road, and we save about 1 million litres of water a day, which is about 180 Olympic-sized swimming pools a year.
It's just unbelievable what we're doing here in the middle of a desert. If you can grow in here, so that means you can grow anywhere else in the world.
Sundrop Farms has shifted the paradigm for sustainable development. It offers a strategic life cycle that embraces both environmental and human systems. Being closed loop, it offers a fair distribution of resources, both within and between generations. The Sundrop system avoids irreversibilities and confines the scale and impact of human activities. There's plenty of innovation. For example, an Italian designer, Arturo Vittori, has designed a tower that can collect 25 gallons of water a day from the air and is useful in remote desert villages where day-night temperature differences are extreme. All of the solutions we've presented are applicable to the Murray River Basin. For example, Sundrop Farms, the Walker Water, graphene, and OTEC technologies, but these are not easily implemented solutions.
The National Collaborative Research Infrastructure Strategy is a $15 million initiative that will spark investment in the identification of key underground aquifers with special emphasis on groundwater storage and climate variability. Key factors include targeting rural areas with high potential for farming and agriculture, facilitating transport and communication nodes in the fertile and wet region to support the logistics and supply chain of food and agricultural products, creation of jobs and employment opportunities. Any development that state and territorial governments fund should seek to provide employment while still tapping into technology and innovation. Political factors and interests are fundamental in the realisation of multiple objectives. However, a conflict of interest exists among stakeholders. Policies and energy regulatory laws should target multiple needs. There is need to establish an equilibrium between the interest of a person and those of the environment. The need for volume and efficiency should be factored in the eco-friendly model to ensure environmental conservation and sustainability. Good policy is instrumental in the realisation of long-term water supplies and security for clean energy, and climate change is needed. Power companies are not willing to invest in coal plants despite the government offering better incentives and finance. Sustainable energy will spur economic growth and development, but a clear crossover strategy is required to achieve a smooth transition from contemporary, unsustainable energy to sustainable options. Other policy considerations include new controls and policies on uncontrolled fishing and abstraction of underground aquifers, legislation to reduce the water consumed from the Darling Basin and to add the total volume of inflow, intergovernmental and institutional collaboration in the monitoring of water resources and their utilisation, a framework for different water supplies like surface, underground, snow and ocean water. A master solution needs to incorporate systems thinking, sustained centrism, tech-centrism and ecocentrism to protect our natural capital. There is the need for a managerial approach that examines the entirety of the Murray-Darling Basin problem. Systems thinking will help in comprehending the water structural needs and the water system in its entirety. There is the need for a thorough understanding of water systems, recharge and climatic patterns. A better understanding of water supplies from identified aquifers will help to better plan for sustainable management and monitoring measures. Sustainable agricultural and farming practices are underpinning in the long-term planning. Sundrop farms should be supported as they provide a model for channeling seawater to farming activities. Will also help desalinise water for agricultural and residential use. Technology is a crucial facet in the development of new and improved optimisation techniques for water. Technology should be used to capture, store and predict the best management measures. Integration of tech equipment with specialised knowledge forms a cornerstone of sustainable water management. Solar thermal desalinisation units cleanse seawater through graphene oxide membranes. A desalinisation approach is needed in coastal cities and towns to help sustain water for industrial, commercial, residential and agricultural use. Traditional farming practices continue to undermine the sustainability of farming and agriculture. Renewed efforts in community education and cultural sensitisation are instrumental social approaches to the environment and water issues facing Australia. Natural capital like water, soil and forested covers are instrumental considerations as they represent assets that can be used to sustain humanity. There is a need to safeguard and control the utilisation of varying forms of natural capitals, particularly water resources. Precipitation levels and volumes are instrumental sources of water for both urban and rural settings. Incorporating water towers that capture condensation and convert to clean drinking water, as well as satellite monitoring and tracking to help in the prediction of precipitation levels, will aid in drought preparation. Soil assessment plans and forest cover estimation will help identify specific steps of action required for the restoration of varying capitals.